Hello everyone, welcome to another video brought to you by Louis Art. I'm your host Emmanuel Okafo and happy weekend. It's about it's Friday here in Philippines and it's 1 a.m. So it's pretty fun and it's going down here. So you're welcome. In this video, I will be sharing with you guys the updates in the 1.2 version of the Hambrick add-on. If you're not familiar with it, you'll get acquainted with it, but this is an add-on that makes geometry node feel more for the artist. So let's get started. If you had it previously installed, you want to go ahead and uninstall it. So I'm going to do I'm going to do that. Okay, so you'll just remove it and save your user preference, and you can close Blender and restart Blender. Typically, this is how you want to go about installing new updates of most add-ons. Okay, so we can go to our preference and install that one more time. So if it's your first time, you probably don't have to do the first step, but if it's the second time, you can just follow that. So we install the add-on and let's look at what we have. So we have the preference user library. This is just a directory for saving out preset of geometry node setup which you did, and you can easily load it in later. So let's save this. So what can you expect with the Hambrick add-on, especially if you've used it before and if you're a new user? So the Hambrick add-on is a system created to aid with grooming in Blender. The base version of what you get with the new update of hair system, even with the essentials added to Blender, is a very technical approach to grooming hair inside Blender. And for your everyday artists working in projects, working in the studio, you kind of get bummed up with the fact that you have to always build nodes. You can have little nodes in modifier which you can append, but it kind of takes the fun out of it. So I wanted to create a solution, and that's what we have here. So let's start with the UI. You have this plus icon and minus icon. You can basically add and remove hair systems. So the hair system you're adding is nothing unique. It's basically what you could add with the curve, empty hair. So it's the same thing you have here. It just organizes it for you. So if you have multiple, you can easily deal with it. Next, you have subtract. Like I said, you can remove. And the comb brush allows you to quickly, if we press T to bring out this tool panel, if we grab the density brush, you can easily go straight into the sculpt mode, and you can click on it, or just use it to exit the sculpt mode. Then we have a couple of these three more icons. These are user operations which you could run quickly. If you had the first version, you'll notice lots of changes to the UI and how it works. You'll be really amazed because it makes it even more usable for your everyday artist. So you can duplicate if you select the curve or the object. So the duplicate duplicates the whole hair basically, and you this is what you get. And if you had like a modifier, it duplicates with it. So let's delete that. And the next one is, let's add a modifier just to show it and reduce the blend factor. So if we duplicate it with this one, we get all the modifiers, and if we move this, you can see it comes with the hair deleted. So that can also be handy when you want to quickly duplicate hair and remove everything and just groom on top of that again. Yeah, so and then one thing you also notice that is pretty cool now. Let's delete all of this. So we're selecting the surface object. So let's duplicate all of this and move this. So you will notice now when you select each curves, it updates here. So it makes it easier for you to, rather than coming here always to kind of select the right curve to apply the modifiers, you can do it right in the viewport and it updates nicely. So that brings us to the last operation which you can run, is combine hair. So for that, I'm going to just duplicate this and let's create something nice. So let's say you're grooming and you add, then you go in your grooming, and you want to do something like groom this, then groom this. So let's say you want to combine them and kind of generate interpolated curve from the both of them. You can do that. You just select both of them and click on combine. So it's going to give you a warning you're about to join your curve. So if you had modifiers, it will kind of collapse them and combine them. So you want to kind of be sure if you need to duplicate and keep like a temporal one. But if you're sure, you can just click on combine curves, and these are one curves now, and you can duplicate. You can basically just groom, and it works as expected. The deformation works. So let's add like a shape key. Move this. Reduce the influence of the proportion. Edit, and yeah, so it works. So that's that. One more thing before we get into the modifier is basic solving an issue that most hair groomer will love. So let's say you go into sculpt mode and you want to add another, you want to start grooming on another hair system. So you kind of organize it because there's no way to create like a selection set with geometry node. With the new hair curve system, but this allows you to do that. So you can click on plus, and right in, you're still in the sculpt mode. You don't leave it. You can just create another one. So let's use the random viewport display. Just very nice ways you can just keep adding different hair. Okay, and you can easily switch through them. And now we have a shortcut, like in the sculpt mode, you can press Alt Q and cycle through all of them. I don't know if it's something that with Blender had already, but yeah. So we have that here, and another cool one is let's delete some of this. You can now apply modifiers inside the sculpt mode, which is a game changer, honestly. So let's say you're grooming and you add like this show point. Okay, so it looks like a lot, but if we go to the cycles render setting where you include the viewport subdivision, no, it's not doing justice to it. Let's just remove this for now. So let's say you're grooming and you feel like you need more points because certain parts are not deforming. Well, you can just quickly add the resample hair. So you can increase or decrease the amount depending on what you want. And you can just hit apply and just keep working. Or let's say you want to trim the hair. You can just hit apply. And you want to create like a nice noisy effect quickly. Just apply. And you have that working in your modifier, and of course you can leave it. You can leave it not applied, and it still works. Okay, so now we can go into the modifiers. So the modifiers are divided into three sections. So we have hair effect, hair styling, and hair operations. So for the hair effect, you kind of get some nice effects like duplicates, which is the instancing children particle stuff. You have interpolator. This simple one is one that kind of has less parameters you can play with, but just gives you a nice quick result. You can have a more advanced one. So we want to get duplicate hair curve. So you get a more robust one. And one thing you notice, all the modifiers come with a maxing. I always have a hard time pronouncing that. So you can always max hairs, most of the modifiers. So if you want to apply a clump effect, you can max it to a particular section. So maybe before the end, we'll kind of create like a quick project. And yeah, so that's it. You can basically just reiterate. Most of the names are self-explanatory, so you can quickly add noise too. Some of them have different levels. So what are you going to miss out on this? Not really, because we'll keep updating the modifiers, adding some from the when we release this. At first, there are a lot of modifiers that are not we're not here, but we've added new ones. We've changed them. We've updated them, made them more solid and polished. So that's what you keep getting. We even included the hair notes that come with the essential Blender package and the interpolated hair. So it's pretty standardized, though we did some modification to kind of fix some lag with it. I don't know. You needed higher number to have a lot of hair for some situations. So that was kind of addressed and fixed. With little number, you can get a lot of hairs. Finally, we have a preset system. So you can click on this plus icon. Let's say you're happy with this and you want for your next project, or you want to send it to your workmate or friend. You can click on this preset and save new preset, and okay. And you can look here, we have that preset. You can always remove it. We come with 2 default presets, so this cannot be removed since it's the default ones. So let's look at what that does. So create new. So select the hair and create new hair. Let's get the art brush and just draw one hair, a couple. So we can add the preset of a dreadlock. And you can go in modify stuff. Oh, and if you want to collapse everything, you use this icon here, it collapses everything. Oh, while we're still here, I can talk about one nice UI feature. So let's say right now we don't have like dragging the modifier, which is something we are definitely working on. It's just going to take longer, but we have a nice solution for that. Let's say you want to move this hair radius to the duplicate. You can click here, move below, and you can just select it, duplicated hair, and it kind of teleports it. So we call this teleportation machine. So that's one way you can do that. And also you can rename it, of course. You can replace it with existing nodes. You can add fake users. You can make 2 modifiers share one link. So for example, if we go into strip and then let's add a new hair and paint it here. Or rename this to give it a different color. Or let's use material to kind of differentiate them. Okay, so Mr. Red and Mr. White. Okay, and let's say you add the hair radius to control the scale of the hair, and you add a hair radius here. So for this, let's make the scale bigger, and this is Mr. Skinny. Okay. If you want both of them to copy the same hair parameters, basically what you can do is you come here and select the let's see what this has. This is hair radius 1. Make sure I select the right one. Okay, so we want this to copy the hair radius. So now if we play with any of the parameter, they're basically sharing the same properties. So that's what this means here, and you can disable render and stuff like that. Maybe we can add a button to kind of clear everything. We're almost there. So yeah, that's it. I think I covered everything. So you can add like nice cool braided presets. Basically the way you want to look at this is like a brick system, like what we have in our modifier stack. That's how it works. Different things have different effect on it. For example, if I'm to move this braided hair above the duplicate, it might work, but it's kind of processing information differently. I'm not sure if you can see this clearly, but yeah, so you want to kind of consciously kind of build it. So let's say we want to build this braided hair again. So we have this straight line, and what comes next? You think, okay, basically we need to add more hair. So we get the duplicate. So we can play with the radius, spread radius. Let's do 0.01 for now. You can play with increase the amount. So at this point we can probably reduce this. Okay. And next, what next? You add the braided hair, because right now if you add the braided hair without the children, you get this. So if we add the braided hair, now you can uniformly scale it, and they both influence each other. So the braid will, the radius of the duplicated hair will influence certain things. So if you want to make it a more skinny braid, it's basically playing with the radius of this, and then playing with the radius of the uniform scale of this. So we can set this to 5, and we have like a nice skinny hair, and we can probably increase the frequency. Yeah. So that's kind of the mindset you want to use when approaching the hair add-on. And yeah, so we can probably just create like a nice female hairstyle. So we can have a real world example before we go, with including rendering. Of course, I will keep putting out more content, particularly on things on different hairstyles. So I think it will be a better way to kind of make you guys understand even more. So let's get a female for a female hairstyle and scale this down slightly. Move this up. Okay, so the new Blender hair system requires you to have UV map, unlike the old one. So we have a UV map with this model, so we're good to go. I'm applying the scale and rotation. Also, you want to pay attention to the name of the UV, because we'll call some attribute, since geometry node deals with attribute. Yeah. So let's start. We want to create like just a straight hair going down, something neat. So for that, let's start with the first one. So a couple of ways you could generate hair. You could generate it like this, or you could, the second one is generating hair curves. So we can select this, and let's check if the object UV are the same. So this is UV and UV map, so it has to be the same. We can play with the length, and you can also isolate where the hair will be generated from. So let's hide this for now and isolate that where that will be. I'm gonna set this to 240k, 2k texture, and set this at left. So you want to leave it as black. I mean, if you have it as white, you just have to invert it. So we have it as white, and we just invert it. So we can just click on the brush icon, and that's another thing with this. We came with a lot of fixes, so it doesn't matter whether you select the hair curve and click on texture. It's smarter now for so many situations. So we can actually just draw out where we want the first hair to come out from. So what I'm gonna do is just turn off this occlude stuff so I can work faster and fix that later. So we also probably use a line, something looking nice and straight. Okay, and for all this mess, grab the space and let's remove it. Okay, so I think this is good. And how we can flip it, but anyways, so now we can see we have the hair. If without the invert, you kind of have it, the invert of it. So we can invert it. Probably I would do an update where we kind of have the white as default and black. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, so now you can increase the density of the generated hair and the length. Okay. Make sure everything is looking okay. So I think we're getting some weird stuff on the ears, because we have. I'm going to just delete that. Okay, and you can also save your image with your blend file by clicking here in the slot. So we can enable that again, and we should have that fixed. Okay, so Just give this a whole number, 1 point. I mean, a very even number. Ugh. Okay, so now we can go ahead and groom this. Grab the comb brush. But before that, we need to apply this modifier. Certain modifiers like the operation section, you definitely need to apply it for the most part. Yeah, so let's grab this and start grooming. I'm going to use the projected so I can just move it as a whole. Easy. We can use Blender's collision, which is pretty weird for sometimes, and offers no option. So for that, if you don't want to struggle with that, you can just use the collision in the hair effect like this, and yeah, you have your collision. So probably need more points here, so I'm going to add resample, set this to like 50, you know, probably crazy, but get more points there. Just bring this out some more so I can see. Okay, so we can just keep grooming. By the way, I'm kind of turning off the viewport overlay, and at certain point you might want to turn that off, or if you like the effect so far and you want to keep moving without that distraction, you can apply the collision and keep it already so it doesn't distract you. Or better still, we can just pat this. Anyways, let's just, yes, probably take longer than we need. Okay, and I'm gonna grab the snake hook. Just pull this down slightly using the projected. So you can either use sphere or projected. Both of them have their charm. And just let's cut the hair at this point using projected again. Okay, so grab comb. And for us to interpolate it is very easy. We just grab the interpolate hair, set this, make sure we have the same amount, the same UV name, and then we'll select the mask we created earlier. Origin to geometry. Okay, sorry, invert. Yeah, so I got scared there for a bit. Yeah, so we just increase the density count. And there you go. You can add X symmetry to mirror the hair. And probably we just add like a nice collision to deal with this part. And maybe I will add like the ability to mask collision to certain areas. Maybe that can be useful. Or at least add a control for like a fall off. So it only affects the top part of the hair and ignores the rest. Okay, so there we go. And if you want to add like clumps, so this is using the one created by the Blender Foundation. Or let's use this random cut trim. So we now get like a nice cut. Yeah, probably move this out slightly. Yeah, so if you let's make this like coily. Let's use a much simpler one. So coily 2 is simpler. You can play with the fall off. I found that most of the notes the Blend Foundation provided are pretty good, but they just feel heavy and process cause like when processing it take longer. Yeah. So we can add some hair clumps, set the distance, yeah. Give it nice. What's happening here? What's that? Clumps. What's causing that? Okay. Looking at preserve length. So if you move it, like I said, if you move this up, it gives a different effect than if you move it. If you leave it down. So for the hair color, I mean, you can just keep playing with this. It's like beautiful artist, and it kind of makes you want to keep making changes and making your hair more awesome. I can reduce the coiliness to like 50, so like, or maybe 10 or 5, 6. It's not over the top. So let's add some like fray hair. What's happening there? Move down. I think the mirror is affecting it somehow. Probably move the mirror below. So I'm going to move the mirror after the hair clump. Move below hair clump. So it's going down. And then I think we need more curliness for the hair. So everything affects, like I mentioned, so you want to kind of go in consciously while doing it. Let's go ahead and render this, but before we render it, let's preview the hair scale. We can add hair radius for that. I'm going to make this have the same value as the base since the hair's cut, so it kind of loses that taper effect at least a bit. So I'll set this universal scale to 0.5, and we can increase the interpolated hair to like 400. Probably the scale is too small, so let's do 0.8. Okay, so this is our hair, and let's render this. Delete that material. Grab this and give it, it's like, let's use the principal BSDF. Oh, sorry, the principal hair shader. And let me tweak the edge a bit. And here we go. We can give this a nice render. So let's say it without all of this. So collapse the modifier without the coiliness and clump. Yeah, so probably bring this in a bit. There are lots of parameters you can play with to create different or several effects. Yeah, it's just for the artist, man. Like, that's the intention. And with this, I plan to do a lot of tutorials, definitely. Think kind of having the mindset of going into it to be a problem solver and come up with cool stuff is the way to go. I think we have a lot of children here, so I'm going to set this to 200. $300, but we reduce the radius to 0.05. Okay. Want it looking soft. Yeah, now we can increase the number to 400. And the if you subdivide your mesh, it also affects the smoothness of it too. Without the trim, it allows you to quickly. I mean, these are things you could do with geometry node, but it takes a lot of time to kind of get that with setting it up, and if you don't know, kind of takes the fun out of it, honestly. So let's probably increase the influence. Oh, sorry. I think that preserve length option is becoming problematic. It's probably contributing something. Yep. I think it was trying to preserve the length in a weird way. So yeah, so you can create different effects. It's kind of fun. Kind of see what you can get. And even add more modifiers that will break this up some more. Probably we don't need clump, or at least if we need just the bare minimum. We can use the clump to create even more cool effects. So if I set this to 0.0, so we can have the curly head more tighter, like this. And then I'm going to use the trim to break things up so it doesn't look so even. Here we go. Yeah, so it's just kind of understanding it as a problem solving tool, workflow where you kind of build things up nicely, and you definitely have a lot of fun, and it's probably definitely or probably capable of creating almost any hairstyle you kind of imagine. And the workflow is not built to break anything when Blender adds any update of or improve on something. It's built to build on top of what Blender gives you. So Blender updates and fixes are always a foundation. If there speeds up in the nodes, this becomes faster. If there's anything, it will benefit from it. Yeah, so if you're interested, check it out on the Blender Marketplace, and let's get started and be creative and just have fun creating hair. So that's it for this tutorial. Bye bye for now. See you next time. I'm going to sleep. Bye.